characters, incidents, names, and situations used in this story are fictitious. The resemblance to any person living or dead is purely coincidental. The following video contains some horror elements and suitable for a mature audience, 16 plus. This channel and video is not for kids.
Hello friends, I am Aryan and welcome to our channel, Midnight Horror Stories, where you get to hear true and scary ghost stories. In our channel, you will get to hear true and scary stories every Tuesday and Saturday. But before starting the story, all the friends who have come to this channel for the first time, please subscribe to the channel, and if you like the story, then definitely introduce yourself in the comments section. Then let's do not take much time and start our story quickly. Friends, our story today is about a boy living in a small village in Kerala whose name is Binu. So let's now hear the story from Binu's point of view. Hello friends, my name is Binu, and I hail from a small village in Kerala. Today, I will tell you a truth of society along with a scary incident related to my life, which you will listen to. You will also be forced to wonder if this really happens in today's world. Actually, all this happened to me when I was around 16 years old. Since childhood, I was educated in a hostel. My aunt's son, Sanju, also lived with me in the hostel. We were only a month apart. We were the same age. My family lived in the village, which was a very wealthy family according to the village. We had a lot of respect in the village. My grandfather had been the sarpanch of the village for many years. Often during the summer holidays or when another holiday comes, we people used to come to the village. There was a temple in our village which was built on the outside of the village. People knew him by the name of Old Temple. Since childhood, I've been hearing that never forget to go to that temple. No one in our family, even in the village, used to go to that temple forgetting their children or themselves. The temple was situated in a secluded place away from the village at the foot of the mountain. Whenever we asked our family members why we did not go to that temple, they would either scold us and silence us, or say that there are poisonous insects that would take you 10 or make some other excuse. And so what is the truth behind that temple? We never understood. But at that time, when my school holidays came, I came to my village with my aunt's son. This time I brought Bua's son with me because the last time I went to her place was decided between the two of us that once we would go to her village and once we would come to our village. By the way, we were both a bit of a naughty type. Jumping, walking all day, watching movies, these were all our hobbies. Now, as usual, as soon as we reached the village, the first thing we were told was to stay quiet in the house. Don't do too much mischief and don't forget to go to that old temple. But this time something else was going on in our minds. My family consisted of my grandparents, parents, and uncles. But at this time, the uncle and aunt lived in the city. Sometimes he had to come to the village. Grandparents and mom and dad were all very happy because of our arrival. We were sitting and talking. He was talking about his studies. Then when we ate, Sanju came to his room on the roof to sleep. He looked at me and said, "Man, what is the relation between your village and this old temple when you come? The first discourse you get to hear from your family members is that do not go towards that old temple." Hearing this, I said, "Yes, man, I have not even understood this myself till today, what the connection between all this is. A temple is a temple. What kind of fear is there to go there? And anyway, God is worshipped in the temple. The temple has been closed for so many years. So there must be something or the other. But what is the whole truth? No one will tell us that. But maybe only by going there can we find out some truth." Thinking about this and talking about it among ourselves, now, the thought of what is in that temple we have to find out. And in such a situation, both of us had decided that we were secretly hiding. We will find out about that temple, what is in it and what is not. But we also knew that if the family members or anyone in the village got the slightest hint of this, then there would be trouble for us. So we both decided when we had to go to that temple. In such a situation, we fell asleep that night because we were tired. The next day, I spent the whole day watching movies, talking to family members, roaming around. In the evening, after dinner, we came into the room and started talking. Today we had decided that tonight we would go to that old temple. In such a situation, as soon as it was around 12 o'clock in the night, both of us came out and looked. All the family members were asleep. By the way, people in the village often fall asleep early. In such a situation, the whole village at that time, there was almost silence. Now, we both sneaked down from the roof. There were late dams outside the house. We knew that if we went through the gate, the family would hear the sound of the gate opening. So we both went to the late bath where there was a neem tree. In such a situation, we slowly climbed that tree one by one and jumped down from the wall that was built there. Now both of us walked towards that old temple. We had taken a torch with us, which we were still hiding in our clothes. At that time, we moved forward with great caution. Each step. After some time, as soon as we came out of the village, we started running towards the hill. On the side where the temple is, if you go a little further, there is dark silence all around. Seeing all this, there was also nervousness. So I looked at Sanju and said, "Man, is it okay for us to come here like this or not? Why not go back?" Hearing this, Sanju said, "Now there will be a little bit of fear in the dark. And since when did you start to be scared? Anyway, if we want to know about the temple, we have to walk. If you don't feel like it, let's go back home." Now I didn't think about anything and didn't say it. If you have come, then go after seeing that old temple. In any case, such an opportunity does not come often. Now Sanju said, "Yes, after all, we should also know that there is a ghost hidden in that old temple, or there is a treasure hidden that no one goes to that side or lets go." We were both going on talking like that now. Now we were not afraid of anyone because the fields were also lying empty at this time, so we were talking to each other. Walking a little further, we could see the old temple from a distance on that moonlit night, which was quite far away. It looked like a ruin and a spooky ghost. As soon as we both started going that way, we saw that the path on that side was surrounded by very rough and thorny bushes, because of which we were slowly moving forward with the light of the torch. But still, we had a little bruise on our feet, and a little bit of thorns too, but they kept moving forward. Then Sanju said, "Man, there is something in this temple. No one has come to this side for years. That's why you see what kind of path it is." Hearing this, I said, "Yes, that's it." Now we both somehow reached near that temple. By the way, the temple was in ruins, and there was a lot of moss on it due to the rain from outside. The wild vine was also climbing on it. There was a big lock on his front door. Seeing this, both of us looked at each other in surprise at first. Have you ever wondered whether to go in or not? Sometimes you think that now that you have come so far, why not go inside? Finally, we decided that we would go in and see what was going on. But in the darkness of that night, the panic was too much. It was happening. Then we looked around and found a stone, and both of us somehow broke the lock with a little effort. The lock was also closed for a long time. There was rust, so it was not much trouble to break it. We broke it and threw it aside and tried to open that door. The temple had been closed for years, due to which we were having some difficulty in opening the door. The door was locked. In such a situation, when both of us pushed, the door opened with a loud noise.
A strange one on the inside. There was a stench that was damp because the temple had been closed for many years and was in ruins. In such a situation, the stench due to the rain was bound to be in the temple. Now both of us looked inside from the door of the temple. There was darkness all around. Now quickly we lit our torches and we both moved a little further together, so I felt as if someone was humming something in my ears. As soon as he realized this, he looked around with a flashlight, but no one was seen. Then he spoke to himself. Anyway, the temple has been closed for years. Who can come? Thinking of this, both of us started looking around in the temple. There was a lot of dust and mud in the entire temple. We looked through the flashlight. There were nets everywhere. At that time, the temple looked very scary from inside. In such a situation, there was also a little nervousness. But still, we kept moving forward. Moving a little further, we saw that there was an idol in front of us, which was broken at that time, and this idol belonged to none other than the family deity of our own village. When we came a little closer to see that idol, we were surprised that some flowers, some indulgences were kept. Seeing this, we started thinking that this temple has been closed for years. There was so much rust on the door, and there is so much dampness and suffocation here too. Then who has kept fresh flowers and this bogue item in front of the idol inside the temple? We were thinking that we heard some bells ringing from behind the temple. Seeing this, we both panicked for a moment, But then, it was as if someone was dancing backwards in the temple behind the idol. Someone dancing and then slowly singing something. We could hear the voice too. Although both of us were getting nervous, but still with courage, we slowly moved forward and went to the back of the temple. But now we didn't see anything there, where a while ago we could hear the sound of the bells ringing. We were both surprised and upset to see that this was where the sound came from. Then why is there no one here now? Then we started hearing that voice again from the front, where she was the idol of the family deity. Panicking in front of him, we slowly started moving towards it. At that very moment, we hid from the lip of a pillar and saw that in front of the idol of the family deity, a girl who must be around 20 years old and who was very beautiful to look at, was dancing in front of the idol of Sanwari Kuldevta, dressed like a bride. At that time, it was as if she was completely lost in that dance, and whatever folk songs and hymns of that family deity were also being sung. We looked at the girl for one. I was a little nervous. Then looking at each other, he said softly, "Yar, what is this girl doing in this temple right now?" And finally it came, "Where will it come from?" I was just thinking that suddenly there was a storm in the whole temple. Nothing was visible. There was darkness before the eyes, and in an instant, everything was quiet. Now that we looked at it, we were surprised. The girl who was dancing like a bride a while ago, now the sound of the girl crying loudly was heard. Hearing him, we both got very nervous and started looking at him nervously. The girl who looked gorgeous a while ago, now his condition was much worse. There were injury marks on the body in places. Almost the entire clothes of his body were torn, and his body was bleeding from injuries from various places. She was crying in front of the idol of the family deity, but we didn't understand what she was saying. And then in the same way, crying and falling in front of the family deity, and in an instant, he was dead. Seeing this, our hearts came to our mouths. We could not understand whether what we were seeing was a dream or it really happened. Then the corpse of that girl turned into a light, and all four in that temple, as it began to spread, the sound of the song of dancing was echoed in that temple, and the whole temple echoed in the same way. Seeing this, we both looked at each other nervously. I couldn't understand what was happening to us. Then Sanju looked at me and said nervously, "Dude, something is wrong here. This is a temple, but so much is being seen. I don't know if I'm dreaming or realizing." Now, as soon as he said this, his voice sounded like from behind the temple, somebody is speaking like this. But the sound we heard was a little eerie and strange. Now we were terrified to hear this. Then I nervously said, "Who could this girl be?" As soon as I said this, my voice echoed from behind me again. I spoke in a very low voice. Now we were both very scared. At that time, even if we were breathing, the same sound was coming from behind, which was causing a lot of panic to both of us. Still, Sanju had the courage to say, "Let's see who it is," but I was feeling very nervous. At that very moment, Sanju said, "Let's go," and he took my hand and forcibly led me to the side where the sound was coming from. When we went there, we saw that the same girl who had appeared a while ago was sitting with her back to us and doing something. Seeing this, we both started to panic. Then the girl stared at us and our hearts came to our mouths. Both of her eyes were shining like a diamond, and she was looking at us angrily. Seeing this, we would have understood something. Before that, the girl started laughing loudly.
His voice was like that of a man and a woman. "You're laughing together." She looked at us with a smile and said, "What are you two doing here?" Seeing this, both of us couldn't stop there for a moment. Frightened, both of them grabbed each other's hands and ran out of the temple. We both ran away until we came far from the old temple. We also had bruises on our legs and a lot of thorns were pricked. The way we went was very careful. We had been running like crazy on the same path. When we came a long way from that temple, when we stopped hearing that sound, we breathed a little sigh of relief, but the heartbeat was still big. Both were very nervous. Then Sanju looked at me and said nervously, "Man, what was all that?" So I said, "By the way, the girl looked like a servant of the family deity." I had often heard from my family members, and even in the city I had seen such a woman in a temple. Dressed exactly like her, people were calling her Dave Sevika. This deity worships the family deity and accepts him as her husband. Because of that, those who get married. But Sanju said, yes, by the way, that girl looked like a god's servant to me too. But something is wrong somewhere. She's not the soul of a deity. Hearing this, my heart came to my mouth and I was starting to feel the same now. That's when I said, Sanju, no matter what happens, no one in the house should know that both of us have gone there. You know that the family always refuses us to come here. So if we find out, how much more will we be scolded? Now we both decided that. I won't tell anyone about it. We were just about to leave when we felt as if someone was following us. As soon as we realized this, we looked back nervously, but there was nothing. Now when they started walking a little further, the sound of the same bell ringing started to be heard. So both of them got scared and started running again. In such a situation, he came running to his house in panic. Now both of us were out of breath and very tired. But before anyone knows where we are, let's both go inside. Thinking that we went to the temple first, we came to our room through that 4 walls. It was thanks to God that no one woke up. If we woke up, there would be a lot of trouble. Returning to our room, we breathed a sigh of relief, but there was still nervousness. By the way, our legs were badly hurt and blood was coming out of the place. Seeing this, we were terrified that if the family came to know about this, what answer would they give if they asked us questions? In such a situation, we immediately took out a box of ointment and wounds on our feet cleaned up, so that no one even knows the truth. Then we lay down to sleep. But then the same voice started echoing in the whole room, which was the same voice that the girl was singing while dancing in the temple. Along with this, the sound of her bells and the ringing of bangles was also heard. We both looked around nervously. Nothing was visible. I could only hear the sound. Seeing this, we lay down to sleep and hid our faces in the blanket in fear. They were trembling. Then in no time, the sound was absolutely calmed down. I couldn't hear anything anymore. Seeing this, we looked around, nervous. That night, we couldn't even sleep because of the nervousness. Every moment, there was an unknown fear. At the same time, there was the fear that our family members would not know in any way. Thinking about all this, around 4 in the morning, we fell asleep and fell asleep. In the morning, when someone knocked on the door of our room, we both woke up in a hurry. At first, we couldn't understand anything because we were nervous. As soon as I remembered the night, I started to get scared. But knock on the door again? I opened the door when I heard a voice. My mother was standing in front of me. Looking at both of us, she said, "How much will you sleep today? You must have talked all night." Hearing this, we said with a false smile on our faces, Yes. So my mother looked at us and smiled and said, "Come down quickly, breakfast is ready." I said, "Yes, Mom, just came." Hearing this, the mother went back. Now, as soon as we both got up and started to leave, we were having a lot of trouble walking because we had so many injuries in our legs. What to do? What not to do? I didn't understand anything. What if someone looks at our feet? Thinking of this, we both went to breakfast after taking a bath. At that time, thank God that both my father and grandfather had moved to our small coconut oil factory. In such a situation, my mother and grandmother were at home. Seeing this, we breathed a little sigh of relief. Then my grandmother came and sat next to us and looked at us and said in surprise, "How is it that both of you have these bruises on your feet?" Saying this, she looked at us nervously. So at first we were both nervous. Then I hurriedly said, "Nothing, Grandma. What is tomorrow?" We had gone to the fields while roaming around, and there, while playing like this, the foot slipped. So we got hurt in the process of saving each other. My grandmother said, "You are both crazy. Take care of yourself. If your father had come to know." I heard this and said, "Don't tell your father and grandfather anything. It is okay if the mother does not know anything about this. Please don't tell anyone, Grandma." By the way, my grandmother loves both of us very much.
She used to do it. In such a situation, do not be upset, but do not do any such thing after today. That's when my mother brought us breakfast. Thank God she was so busy with work today that she did not notice our feet. Then we both had breakfast and went to our room. I was very nervous just remembering the night. Then there was a knock on the door. So as soon as I remembered the night, I started feeling very scared. Then I heard my grandmother's voice and I said, "Hey Grandma, you come on." So Grandma came in and said, "I've made an ointment for you. These injuries won't heal quickly." Saying this, she put a balm on our injuries and said, "By evening, it will give a lot of relief. But don't jump too much to fall asleep." Hearing this, we said, "Okay." After that, Grandma left and we were also lying down to rest. I didn't sleep well at night, so I thought I'd take a break now. Anyway, we both thought that maybe nothing scary would happen to us next. We will never go back to that old temple again.
But we made a mistake. They wondered what we had done by opening that temple and what is going to happen next. Slowly, the whole day passed like this. The ointment that Grandma had applied to our feet also gave us a lot of comfort. Now the legs were not so much pain. In the evening, both Grandpa and Papa returned home. When he called out to us, we went to him nervously. Then their eyes went to our feet, and both of them looked at us in surprise. Then he angrily said, "Where have you jumped up?" Hearing this, Grandma said, "No, there are children. That's how they fell." At that time, Grandma took our side, because of which we were saved from being scolded. Then we all sat and talked for a while. After that, he returned to his room after eating. Both of us were just praying to God in our minds that nothing scary would happen to us today like yesterday. Thinking this, he was walking around on the roof. Then in the darkness, we felt as if someone had called our name from a distance from the side of that temple. Hearing this, we both looked at each other nervous, but now no sound was heard. That's why I thought maybe we had such a delusion. Then it seemed to us that the same two diamond-like eyes were coming towards us in the dark. We could see it from the other side of the road. Now seeing this, we were scared, so both of us came running inside. Now Sanju hurriedly said, "Dude, I don't feel right." So I said nothing. In the dark, the eyes of the animal also appeared to us to glow in the same way. And anyway, we are so scared because of all this, so we feel like everything that Dave Savika is staring at us, it's sounding, while there is nothing like that. Saying this, I began to comfort him. I was also very scared. Then we both lay down to sleep. It was about 11 p.m. But nothing scary happened to us, so we thought that nothing like this will happen from now on. Thinking of this, we closed our eyes to sleep, and in a short time, we were also sleepy. We were both asleep when we heard a loud bell sound from the back of the house. We recognized in our sleep that it was the servant of that deity. It's the sound of a bell. Because of all this, we also woke up. We nervously looked through the window of the room that opened to the back. From there, I saw that the same Dave Savika was going inside the village through the road. Seeing this, we both kept looking at him tremblingly. Then the deity stared at us, and both of our hearts started pounding. Seeing his same shining eyes, we could not understand anything, and before he could say anything, the sound of the same dance, the sound of bangles, and ringing of bells started echoing in the room. Gradually, the voices became so loud that like our eardrums will burst. Now we both became very nervous and hid our faces in the blanket nervously and began to tremble. Just then, there was a sound of laughing terribly and a word was heard, "I'll make my own arrangements." Now, we were both surprised to hear this, and then everything calmed down. It was as if there was nothing. We nervously removed the blankets and looked around. Nothing was visible or heard, but I will take that last word of that servant for myself. It was a little surprising to us. However, we did not pay much attention to this and closed our eyes to sleep nervously. But I was afraid that Dave Savika might kill us, because we opened the door of the temple. But when nothing happened for a long time and everything was quiet, gradually we also fell asleep and we fell asleep. It had only been a while since we had slept. It was around 3 a.m. when we heard a lot of noises coming from our house that made us panic. Suddenly he woke up in a hurry. When I came out, I saw a lot of people gathered in the courtyard of the house. Seeing those people in the village, I didn't understand. Now, when we both came downstairs, we saw that some of them were very nervous. One woman was crying a lot. By the way, my grandfather was a serpench. He used to decide the small problems of the village himself. But what was the problem at this time of night that the people of the village had to come here at this time? Because it made sense that there was something. That's why people have come here. But what is the point? I just didn't understand it. Then a man said, "We have heard his voice on the side of the old temple." It was nervous to say this.
Now Sanju and I looked at each other to see if the old temple had been seen by any of them. That's what I was thinking. Then Grandpa said, "Don't worry." Saying this, he called someone. Gradually, a lot of people from the village gathered there. From those people, we came to know that a man from the village who was guarding his fields at night, and someone was talking to his wife on the phone. Then suddenly the sound of his screaming was heard, as if he had suddenly screamed in a panic, along with the ringing of someone's bells in the phone itself. The voice was also heard by his wife. Hearing this, his wife began to speak again and again, nervously, asking what had happened. But the man's shouting could be heard, and then that voice slowly faded away. Panicking on hearing this, his wife woke up the other members of the family. When they told the whole story, they ran to the farm.
There was a phone call from the man, but the man was nowhere to be found. Everyone was upset not to see that man. Anyway, there was no forest around for any wild animal to come. In such a situation, someone has attacked him. The attack was not carried out with the intention of robbery. Such things were coming to mind. They nervously searched for him. He also called people he knew, but the man was nowhere to be seen. When they were looking for people, they went to the old temple where no one ever went to forget. They heard the man's sudden screams of terrible screams. And in a short time, everything calmed down. Hearing this, Grandpa and all the people of the village were also upset. Then Grandpa looked at everyone and said, "It is 4 o'clock in the morning. Now we should go in that direction." Then a man said nervously, "If all this is done by that servant, then 4 o'clock will not make any difference to her. In such a situation, it is not free of danger for us to go there." Now Grandpa looked at everyone and said, "Nothing will happen. And anyway, you have to find out what happened." Saying this, we talked about it for a while. Now everyone dared to walk in that direction. Hearing these things and knowing about what had happened, both of us panicked and went back to our rooms. Now Sanju looked at me and hurriedly said, "Man, has this Dev Sevika really killed someone?" Hearing this, I panicked and said, "Yes, man, it seems so. But why has it killed anyone? The gate was opened by both of us. They left us alive." So Sanju said, "I don't know. By the way, later I am afraid that they might take our lives." Saying this, we were both very nervous. We didn't sleep for a moment. Now anyway, it was morning, so we came and sat on the roof. But it was still dark at that time. In such a situation, the burning torch in the hands of the people towards that old temple, the light was visible to us from a distance. Those who were moving towards that temple. Then we both came downstairs. I saw that both the grandmother and the mother were walking around very upset and restless. Then our grandmother came and sat next to us. So I looked at her and said, "Grandma, why are people so afraid of this old temple? If this is the temple, then who is so afraid of the temple? People who don't even go that way during the day." Hearing my words, Grandma looked at us and said, "You two will not understand. Don't ever forget to go that way." Hearing this, Sanju said, "But there must be something, Grandma. What is there in that temple?" We both knew what was there in that temple, but we still wanted to hear the truth from Grandma's mouth, so that we know what the whole story behind that temple is. We didn't know the whole story yet. That's not what we were asking about. Now Grandma was nervous and could not say anything. Then my mother came and scolded us and said, "Shut up. The name of that temple should never come on your tongue even after forgetting it."
Dad and Grandpa won't think twice before taking your life. Did you hear? Hearing this, both Sanju and I started getting nervous and looked at each other that the mother was so angry just by taking the name. So what if we both found out that we both went that way? In such a situation, we thought it best to keep quiet and came to our room. Then after some time, the sound of the people who had gone towards the old temple was heard, so both of us ran downstairs. We saw some people wrapping themselves in cloth and holding them in their hands and carrying something. Seeing this, Grandma and both of my moms came out. We all looked at it. That's when they put it in front of them. Then, as soon as we removed the cloth, our screams were suppressed in our throats. It was the corpse of a man from the village who suddenly disappeared from the field while talking to his wife on the phone, whose head was separated from the torso. Seeing this, both of us started trembling. Seeing such a condition of that corpse in front of their eyes, seeing the blood-stained clothes, everyone was very nervous. Then Grandmother hurriedly looked at everyone and said, "How did all this happen?" Now Grandpa was upset and said angrily again, "I know who opened the door of that old temple, due to which the soul of that deity has been liberated. Now it seems that it will be the same as it was years ago. There will be a dance of death again, and who knows how many people will die. Now it is not so easy to stop that Dev Sevika." The whole village was very nervous while talking about this. Gradually, a crowd of people from the entire village gathered. The family members of the man who died were in a bad state of crying. There was an outcry all around. Sanju and I stood aside frightened. At that time, both of us did not have the courage to tell everyone that whatever happened was because of us. But we still did not understand why the soul of that deity was bent on killing these people. Immediately,
Dadaji called all the tantric pandits in the surrounding villages and all the people who told them. But no one could even think of imprisoning the soul of that deity servant. Everyone was terrified of his name. He was saying that he is a deity servant and the power of the family deity is with him. It is not in anyone's power to imprison him, to defeat him. The corpse of the man with whom all this happened was cremated, and the people of the village no longer cared about eating or drinking. Everyone was sitting at our house talking about it. Then Sanju looked at me nervously and said, "Yar, we've made a big mistake. Now I don't know how many people will die." Hearing this, I was startled and said, "I feel the same way. But don't tell anyone the truth. If the truth is known, how much will the family tell you and me? You know the anger of your father and grandfather? We think so much about the people of the village that we might break up with both of us forever and throw us out of the house. Because when it comes to judgment and justice, they don't look at their own people." Saying this, we started to panic. But now I did not know how to bring back the soul of that devotees. Well, it was understood that for years, the soul of that deity servant had lived in that old temple, because of which the family refused to go to that side. And no one used to go in that direction so that the door of that temple would not open by mistake and the soul of that deity would not be freed. But how did the soul of that deity servant get imprisoned in that temple, and why does it want to kill people? Thousands of such things were going through our minds. Then Sanju thought for a while and said, "By the way, one thing is not understood, that the soul of that deity servant is killing people. How can there be the power of the family deity with him?" There were thousands of such things going on in both of our hearts and minds. Everyone in the village was also upset. The day had passed. We didn't care about anything to eat. Mom fed us a little bit. Grandpa and Dad didn't eat anything. After dinner, we went upstairs to the room. Till around 2 a.m., the villagers sat at our house. Even some people of the village gathered and started guarding the way to our village towards the old temple, so that if someone sees the spirit of the deity coming to someone, then it will be known who she is going to kill next time, which might save his life. Sanju and I both lay in the room. They were. That's when we started hearing the sound of bells and bangles ringing around 1 a.m. The sound was so loud that it was as if the eardrums would burst. In such a situation, panicking like yesterday, we looked back through the window and saw that the spirit of that deity was going. Seeing this, we were both scared that we did not know what would happen now. By the way, we felt that the people of the village were not listening to the sound of his coming, his anklets, his bangles. As if that Dave Savika is visible only to the two of us. Maybe we have opened the gate of that temple. Therefore, we have to be visible. We were nervous thinking about it. Then the spirit of that Dave servant went to a neighboring house. Seeing this, we both got even more nervous, because we remembered that yesterday we didn't pay much attention. But the man of the house where the soul of the deity had gone had died. This means that someone from the house you have gone to today will die. Just thinking about this made our heartbeat increase. But we didn't know what to do, and it happened just as we had planned. After a while, screams started coming from that house. It was gone. Hearing their screams, the people of the village rushed to the spot and found that a man was missing from there too. He was sleeping at night and suddenly got up and started screaming loudly. Seeing this, the family could understand something, that he opened the door and ran away. But the way in which the old temple used to go, instead of that side, he went running through the other side, because there were people from the village on that side. His family chased him. He tried to catch him, but he ran so fast that no one could catch him. In such a situation, when the village people came to know about it, immediately the people of the whole village gathered and ran towards it. At that time, there was a storm in the entire village even at night. People's voices were heard all around, because everyone was very nervous. The women of the village also went to our house and sat together and were very scared that, oh God, I don't know what will happen to this village. Whose life will be saved and whose life will be saved? After some time, when the people of the village returned, everything happened to the man yesterday. Sanju and I were watching this nervously. At that very moment, Sanju said in a hurry, "I wonder if the deity does not sacrifice these men in front of the family deity." Hearing this, I couldn't say anything in a panic. But now both of us started thinking about how long we would keep quiet. Before more people die in the village, the truth has to be told. But I didn't have the courage to say anything. That night had passed like this. The next day we tried very hard to tell anyone about it. But whenever he tried to tell, it seemed as if the voice was stuck in his throat. In such a situation, wanting, they couldn't say anything. When night fell, no one in the whole village slept. Everyone was nervous thinking about when. In which house does that deity come as someone's death? Sanju and I were in the room. Then I panicked and said, "Sanju, all this is not going well. We should tell the truth to the family so that we can find some way out after that." Hearing this, Sanju hurriedly said that there will be no way out. Telling the truth will bring trouble on us. And anyway, the door of the temple has been opened. Otherwise, nothing is going to happen if we tell the truth. Now I said, "No, man, but still I should tell you." We were talking when suddenly the window and doors of our room closed with a loud noise, and then the sound of bells and bangles ringing. Seeing this, we both panicked. Then it was as if someone had pushed me hard, and I fell on my bed. Seeing this, Sanju also panicked. He started to handle me. Then it felt like someone had grabbed my throat, because of which my breath was also uprooted. I was terrified to see all this happening to me. Then I heard a terrible voice. "If you want to save your life, then keep quiet. And no one can save the life of whoever is losing his life. Shut up or you won't be able to escape." At that time, both of us were very nervous after hearing the terrible voice of that Dave Savika. Then those sounds stopped, and someone left my throat. It was as if everything was quiet in an instant, but I was too scared. Sanju trembled. Nervously, he gave me water. Now we thought that if we tell the truth, then this Dave Savika will not leave us alive. What's going on together will probably never stop either.
Therefore, it was better to remain silent. Now it was as if a death had spread in the village. Every night we would hear the sound of the bells ringing there. The same bangles were heard. The same dances and hymns were sung. Even if we were asleep, we would wake up and see the same Dave Savika going through the back of our house. Whichever house she went to, a man would die in the same way. Now the people of the village could see their death in front of their eyes. Panicking, they tried to save their lives. They were trying everything. In such a situation, the people of the village used to guard a lot to take care of that Dave Savika, but could not save anyone's life. There have been 7 deaths so far. She was not visible to anyone in the village. Except for the 2 of us, my grandfather and the people of the village were trying in every way to imprison the soul of that God servant back in that old temple, but to no avail. Then one day something happened that we could never have imagined. So far, people were disappearing from the village. They were dying. But all of a sudden, my father, who was sitting outside with the villagers, went to the toilet. Suddenly, they started screaming loudly. Hearing his screams, the villagers reached there and saw that he was not there. Perhaps the servant had taken him away in an instant. Seeing this, the people of the village were blown away. Mom and Grandma were very nervous and started crying. We also started crying in panic. Now the people of the village with Grandpa ran quickly and nervously towards the old temple. And everything happened that happened to the other people of the village. Papa's body was also found in the same way in front of the old temple. What were we going through at that time? Who could understand better than us? Mom had fainted several times while crying. This was the case with my grandmother. Both Sanju and I cried and felt guilty for what had happened. We were so angry at ourselves that it was as if we were going to kill ourselves. Then an old crazy woman of the village who lived outside the village and was not seen during the day. Today she came to our house and started crying and screaming loudly. She won't spare anyone. Death for each of your culprits. It will punish. She won't spare anyone. Saying this, she suddenly started laughing loudly. Seeing the woman acting like this and listening to her words, everyone started looking at her. Now the grandfather angrily asked the men of the village to throw him out of the house, so the people of the village caught him and took him away from there. She was screaming, "She won't spare anyone." Hearing this, Sanju and I looked at each other in surprise to see what the old woman wanted to say. By the way, his mental condition is not good, but there is some truth in his words. It is not. There is some truth, whatever is going on behind all this. Because one thing we had noticed was that all the people who were disappearing in the village were almost the same age as Papa. There must be some reason behind this, but I didn't know who to find out about it. When we came home after Papa's cremation, the old woman came back and started screaming in the same way again. She won't spare anyone. She will kill everyone. She will kill everyone who has wronged her. She started laughing, and my grandmother, looking at her, she said, "You did injustice years ago. You did not support the truth because your love for your son prevented you from supporting the truth, and whatever is happening today is happening because of this. This death game will not stop until she punishes every murderer she has." Saying this, she would shout loudly. Sometimes she would start laughing and sometimes crying. Seeing this, the people of the village again pushed him away from there. Seeing my father die and what was happening, Sanju and I blamed ourselves. But now I understand that the story behind it is something else. In such a situation, we thought that we would find out the truth. In such a situation, at first Sanju was not ready to listen to me, but on my persuasion he agreed. Then both of us in the afternoon, when most of the people in the village are either resting or engaged in some work, we both secretly went to the hill where the old woman lived. I went there and saw the old woman sitting in front of her hut muttering something and crying. Now that we are there, when we arrived, he stared at us and looked at us. Now when we moved a little further, he said nervously from here, "Why did you come here? Go." Now I said, "Look, don't worry. I know there's something that's hidden from all of us. We want to find out that truth. Why is all this happening in the village? It is known that the deity of the old temple is doing all this. But there must be some truth behind it, because nothing happens without a reason. No one in the village wants to tell us anything. But we are confident that you know everything about it. In such a situation, you tell me, what is the story behind all this?" Hearing this, the old woman stared at us. Now in a hurry, Sanju said, "Let us die before that. We want to know the truth as to why this is happening. Until the truth is revealed, both of us will not find peace. Every moment we will be afraid of our own death." Hearing this, the old woman said, "Don't worry, both of you will not die. What about you? No young man of your age will die." By the way, at that time the old woman told that the deity who is a servant was her daughter, whose name was Nirmala. She was very beautiful to look at, just like Nirmala. But the old woman's husband had already died. They had no place to stay or eat. She was very poor. She used to feed herself and her daughter by working hard. But for a few days she started feeling very sick. In such a situation, she could not even go to work hard. In such a situation, wherever her daughter went to work hard, people used to look at her with dirty eyes.
In such a situation, one day the old village, the priest of the family deity of the temple came and asked the old woman to make her daughter a servant. If this happens, then he and his daughter will also be able to survive properly. And in any case, no one will be able to marry his daughter because that old woman had once eloped with her husband and married him. In such a situation, both were of different castes, and no one was ready to make their daughter Nirmala the daughter-in-law of their house. And anyway, people considered it their good fortune to make their daughter a Devsavika, that God has given them such an opportunity. His daughter has the privilege of marrying God. At that time, the old woman seemed right about the priest of the family deity. Anyway, her daughter always had a great focus on worshiping God, and she was very good at heart. Then, hearing the words of the priest of that family deity, his mother refused. But Nirmala said yes, because Nirmala did not seem to be interested in any other work. All she had to do was worship God, keeping in mind her wishes. And thinking that something might be wrong with her daughter, or her daughter's life was ruined like this, it is his good fortune to hand over his daughter at the feet of God before that. Because after that, no one will be able to look at his daughter with a dirty eye.
After all, she will be the maid of the family deity. In the eyes of all, the tradition of becoming a devotee was carried out in the same way as there is a tradition of becoming a servant with full rituals. His daughter was married to the family deity, due to which her daughter Nirmala became the bride of the family deity, and she accepted him as her husband with a true heart. At that time, his daughter Nirmala, she was happier as if she had found all the happiness in the world. After that, Nirmala started living with her mother at the temple, and she focused her entire attention on the worship of God in the service of the family deity. She was always just doing the service. At that time, the old woman who thought that after becoming a Dev Savika, her life would improve her daughter's life, people would look at her with respect, she was wrong. Because in the olden days, people considered their good luck in making their daughter a Dev Savika. Because whatever the girl goddess, because people saw her as the wife of the family deity, who will always be married and is the wife of their family deity. But over time, all this changed. Now people used to keep a dirty eye on Dev Savika. They considered it as an object of lust, and this is what the people of our village were thinking at that time. Both parents were unaware of the poor thinking of the people. In such a situation, the one who was the priest of the family deity also wanted to make Nirmala a victim of his lust. That's why he had asked Nirmala's mother to make Nirmala a Dev Savika, because he thought that then he would make Nirmala his maid, like his mistress. But when he realized that Nirmala was a different kind of girl, who did not have any bad things in her heart and mind, she considers only devotion to God as her world, so he tried to molest Nirmala many times. Then Nirmala opposed this. Gradually, the eyes and intentions of the wayward boys of the village at that time started to deteriorate for Nirmala. When they felt that Nirmala would not listen to them and would never do such a lousy thing, they gathered together, the priest of that temple made a lousy plan. And in such a situation, in the darkness at night, Nirmala, who lived with her mother in the cell behind the same temple, they reached there. At that time, the key of the temple was with the priest anyway, whereas the back door of the temple, from where Nirmala and her mother used to come out, was well locked from inside. They didn't open it at night. Anyway, when the priest of the temple opened the door of the temple from the front, and they came to the temple, there was a sound of someone coming. Hearing this, no thief entered the temple. Thinking this, Nirmala and her mother had just come out of their cell when they looked at them. Seeing so many people with the priest at that time, both Nirmala and her mother could understand something. Before that, those stray boys caught Nirmala. Seeing this, his mother and Nirmala started asking him to leave. By the way, Nirmala was very nervous. Crying, she asked to leave herself. That's when the priest came there. Now, after listening to their words, seeing their antics, Nirmala and her mother understood everything. I wondered what their intentions were. At that time, both of them ran out of the temple to save themselves, so those people surrounded them from all sides. In such a situation, Nirmala cried and said that she is the servant of their family deity. Leave them alone. But no one took pity on them. At that time, everyone was blindfolded with lust. Now everyone started flirting with Nirmala. They started doing nasty things. Seeing this, his mother tried to save him. Then they hit his mother's head against the wall 3 or 4 times, because of which his blood started flowing in his head. She fell down in agony. But crying and screaming, she started asking her daughter to leave, and stumbled again to go and save her daughter. Then she fell down again. Then they caught Nirmala and locked her in the cell and took turns robbing her honor. They raped her, and after that, everyone left from there laughing and smiling. Now they felt that Nirmala and her mother would not be able to do anything. Nirmala was out of compulsion. After all, it's your luck. Understanding this, people will do as they want and will remain like a business person for everyone. But they didn't know what was going to happen next. After all this happened to her, Nirmala came out crying. At that time, her condition was very bad. There were injury marks everywhere. Her clothes were torn. Seeing her daughter's condition, her mother's heart was broken. The same Nirmala came to the idol of the family deity crying and started crying loudly. At that time, Nirmala's mother had become like a living corpse.
It's like his brain is working. I had left. What to do now? Nothing made sense. Then Nirmala could cry and say in front of the idol of the family deity that I had given my life in your name, that I would spend my life in your service. But so much happened to me while you were there. So much went wrong. Now I hate myself. I don't want to live. But one thing I want to tell you is that even after I die, you have to support me. I have to avenge my death. Together with me, from the demons who have destroyed my body and my soul, sieved, if my devotion is true, then I will come back to avenge every crime done to me, and I will not find peace until I punish those demons. Saying this, he broke his head in front of the idol of the family deity and gave his life. His mother saw all this and tried to save him, but he couldn't save it. At that time, as soon as Nirmala gave her life, the idol of the family deity was broken by making a loud... It's like his brain is working. I had left what to do now. Nothing made sense. Then Nirmala could cry and say in front of the idol of the family deity that I had given my life in your name, that I would spend my life in your service. But so much happened to me while you were there. So much went wrong. Now I hate myself. I don't want to live. But one thing I want to tell you is that even after I die, you have to support me. I have to avenge my death. Together with me from the demons who have destroyed my body and my soul. Sieved. If my devotion is true, then I will come back to avenge every crime done to me, and I will not find peace until I punish those demons. Saying this, he broke his head in front of the idol of the family deity and gave his life. His mother saw all this and tried to save him, but he couldn't save it. At that time, as soon as Nirmala gave her life, the idol of the family deity was broken by making a loud noise. Like seeing Nirmala suffering, she also could not tolerate all this. Then the condition of your daughter. Seeing this, his mother fell unconscious. The next day when the priest reached there, he was very nervous to see Nirmala's corpse. Seeing that priest in front of his eyes, Nirmala's mother's blood boiled. Then the priest pushed him aside in anger, due to which his head was injured again. And then the priest gathered the people of the village and told them that the mental condition of those two mother and daughter were not good, due to which they also broke the idol of the family deity. Saying this, Nirmala proved both of those parents wrong in everyone's eyes. The body was cremated. Her mother tried very hard to tell her daughter everything that had happened. But even after hearing all the things, some people believed his words and some people did not. But 3 days after her death, Nirmala's soul was tormented and she took her revenge by cutting off the head of that priest in the same temple and sacrificing him in front of the family deity. In such a situation, when 2 people died in the village, people got very nervous. In such a situation, there was a great pandit of a village at that time. Everyone went in front of them and begged for all this. And they closed the door of that temple, trying to calm Nirmala's soul with some mantras. Now Nirmala's soul remained imprisoned in the temple. Seeing this, people breathed a little sigh of relief. But it was the Panditji who had imprisoned Nirmala's soul in the temple. He had clearly said that she would not sit quietly until Nirmala took revenge on her culprits. That is why no one should ever come towards this temple and open its door. If someone opens the door, Nirmala's soul will be free.
No one can stop it. Seeing this, people were terrified. The temple was closed forever. Then this is what happened. No one forgot to go to that temple. But knowingly or unknowingly, we opened that door. So Nirmala's soul came again to sentence her culprits to death. When the old woman told us all this, the ground slipped under the feet of me and Sanju. Then the old woman looked at us and then at me and said, "Your father was one of those people who had wronged my daughter. And that's why, even after knowing the whole truth, being blinded by the love of his son, your grandfather could not do justice to my daughter's death and immediately married her to your mother to hide his son's mistake. But God's house is late, but not dark. My daughter finally took revenge on your father and her culprits. And those who are left will not be able to be saved by any power in the world." Saying this, tears welled up in his eyes in anger. I was saddened by my father's death and what was happening in the village. But you know the whole truth. Then my eyes started to bleed. Seeing my pain, Sanju started to handle me. But now I myself also wanted Nirmala to give death penalty to her culprits, no matter who it is. And in such a situation, for 2 more days, this dance of death went on. And finally, when all the culprits of Nirmala were put to death, when the last body was found in front of that old temple, at the same time the door of the temple closed automatically with a loud noise. Seeing this, everyone in the village was terrified. But after that, Nirmala's soul did not hurt anyone. People, quite a I was scared and nervous for days, but Nirmala's soul never returned. It's been so many years, but Nirmala hasn't hurt anyone after that. But yes, even today people say that in that old temple, there is the sound of dancing and singing hymns at night. As Nirmala is still engaged in devotion by worshipping the family deity in that old temple, because she had spent her life in the devotion of the family deity, even after death, her soul was engaged in her devotion. By the way, Nirmala's mother is no longer in this world. When Nirmala killed all her culprits, 10 days later her mother's health deteriorated and she gave her life in front of that old temple. The people of the village cremated him, just like he was waiting for Nirmala to punish the culprits, and when all this happened, she didn't want to live this life anymore, so she had gone to her daughter forever. By the way, when I remember all those things, I start to feel nervous. I think it's good that Sanju and I have done the old temple. He opened the door. After all, Nirmala, who had been wandering in the fire of revenge for so many years, his soul found peace by putting his culprits to death and punishing them for their deeds. I have never been able to tell this truth to my family or anyone. Maybe my family knew everything, but they never told me anything. So friends, this was our story today. How did you like this story? Please do tell me by commenting in the comment box. And also, those who haven't subscribed to the channel yet, please subscribe to the channel. Take care of yourself and your family. I will meet you soon with a new story. Thank you.